Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom Into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
And I think that we really do have an awesome lineup of people working on this, and some really amazing wines to showcase tonight. We had a really nice trade session today with some of the best in the business, and tonight we're going to be able to taste with some of the same folks as well as a few others. So really exciting to get everybody together. And it's a large audience tonight. We're ordering on sold out, right around 60 plus. I think some of you have bottle kits, some of you have the vials. If you have bottles, again, we're going Melville, Andrew Murray, Lassiter, Topless Creek, Force Majeure, and Law Estate. And we have all the winemakers on the Zoom tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get started and welcome our first winemaker tonight, Chad Melville. How are you?
I am great. Thanks for having me.
Even though you did try to kick Andrew Murray off of the Zoom.
Yeah, I always am, but
that was funny.
Yeah, no, he's a good buddy of mine. He's a neighbor. We've known each other forever. We go back a long ways.
That's cool, man. Yeah, it's been a long journey up there for you guys, and you both have great stories. And I'm super happy to have you on the Zoom. You're joining us from Montana, right? I
am actually, yes. So I'm an hour ahead of you guys. So I'm like deep into dinner, and
all right.
A glass of wine here.
We get to Chad Melville uncut, uncensored. That's very cool. Well, tell us. Just give us the real quick background behind Melville. How long have you guys been around?
Yeah, so my family's been farming for 35 plus years, but we've been in this specific area of Santa Rita Hills the past 25. We have 120 acres. It's all estate run, so we own our own land. We do our own farming. We don't purchase fruit from anybody. We really focus a lot on the wine growing side of it, and then the objective is to grow the highest quality, most pristine, clean, raw ingredient we possibly can. Then when it comes to the winemaking, it's really kind of taking a back seat and just allowing the vineyard to express itself. And that's what's fun about this wine, or this varietal in particular. Tonight, you guys are going to get the same grape, but in lots of different climates, and they're all awesome and they're all beautiful expressions, but they're different. And so it's going to be fun to kind of go through that with everybody.
Awesome. I'm working on getting the slideshow up, Chad. Give me a second. I'm having some technical issues.
Oh yeah, no worries. So do you want me to just keep
chat with the crowd until we get it going here?
Okay, cool. So I personally been involved the last 25 years. I got into this in 1997, sorry. I was lucky because I was exposed to a lot of this industry early on, but at the same time, when it came, time to go to college and study, I went the business finance route. And so I just wanted to do something different. I wanted to not do what my dad was doing. And even though I was exposed to a lot of it, I didn't really like it. I thought farming was sticky, dirty, sweaty, kind of unglamorous, and it still is to a lot of degrees. But what happened, in that mid 90s and early 90s period was that viticulture really took off. I mean, people really started to pay attention more to how to grow higher quality fruit. Up until that point, it was really more about kind of a defensive approach. Like if there's something wrong in the vineyard, let's find a solution, develop a fungicide or whatever, and then, apply it. Where, around this time, it was like, well, wait a minute, if we grow, healthier vines in a healthier soil, then they can really kind of fend for themselves. And so it was a really fun time to be involved in viticulture. It still is, but I think we see this across the scope of the world. The quality of wine has dramatically increased the last 25, 30 years, and so I was lucky to get involved in that period. I was lucky to get involved also with, planting a vineyard, raw land. Andrew Murray's got a great story about that too. And it's something that, maybe I don't really want to do again. It's a huge undertaking, but I'm so thrilled to have that opportunity to be able to be involved in that process. And so we planted the vineyard, we matched clone to rootstock. We did it, in terms of, row exposure, elevation. And so for us, it was, a really fun process. It's almost like, designing, your dream house or something. Like, where do you want to put the kitchen, the entryway, how many stories do you want? I mean, it was like one of those opportunities that, maybe you only get once in a lifetime. And so on paper, the vineyard looks, just perfect and beautiful, but it takes time to grow it. It takes time to, make it into wine and then age the wine and all that stuff. So we were lucky. We found a really unique spot. The Santa Rita Hills is a cold climate. And I'm specifically using the word cold, not cool necessarily. Cold climate Syrah is a huge challenge because it's a late ripening varietal and it's very prolific. It wants to produce a lot of fruit. And you put those two together and then you combo that into a cold climate, you're talking about kind of a danger zone of not getting the fruit ripe. So we farm it aggressively. Again, it's one of the advantages of being a state is that you control these things. You get to drop fruit, open up the canopy. You spend money on the farming to ensure that you get the fruit ripe. And when you do, cold climate Syrah is just, it's very elegant. It's very feminine. It's very pretty. It has a lot of acidity. It has some tannin, but it's not the Syrah that's big and bold and juicy and overtly tannic. I love those wines too. It just kind of depends on what you're eating. But the fun thing about tonight is you'll be able to see, smell, taste the differences between a cool, cold, mild, warm, and hot climate. Are we doing the slideshow or no?
Yeah, I'm ready to go, buddy. I'm sorry. I literally had no internet for a few minutes.
All good. Listen, this technology is great. Yeah. The fact that we can do this.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that we could do this
we're working now. We're working now.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to bring up the slideshow and you can take it from there, but we will have a break right after you're done, just so we can say hi to everybody. That's usually what we do, but I've been really suffering with my internet. I hope that everything goes well. And if it doesn't, I will probably go away and hopefully the show doesn't shut down. But if it does, click back in and it'll come back up. Okay. I've had this happen before.
The good thing is
now that anything can happen in the wild west here, and I'm just preparing us all. But here's the slideshow, and let me bring it back up. Boom.
The good thing is we all have wine, right? So if we lose you or lose the connection, we're left with wine to drink, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, we intend to produce a really good show. I just need the internet to work. All right, here we go. Welcome, Chad Melville Winery, one of 6 Rhone warriors tonight, and super excited to have you on our show. Thank you for joining us, Chad. I have been to your winery maybe 30, 40 times. It's always one of my absolute must-go-to places in Santa Rita Hills. And let's dive into your first wine in the slideshow.
Yeah, well, appreciate having me. And again, I think this is a really fun technology to use, the fact that we could all be home and be safe and not, be exposed to the virus, right? And to be able to still taste the same wines together is super fun. So yeah, there's a shot right there of the winery, again, established in 97. We are only, an hour and a quarter north of LA. So we're really close. And I know that the majority of the people on here are from the LA region. It's not that far, and even Paso is just another hour and a half. So we're all really close. Highly recommend, take a break, come up, visit the area. There's lots of killer stuff going on. But on the left, this is our philosophy here. We've always been family owned. We've always been 100% estate. organically farmed. We do everything, grown by hand. And I use this term honest wine. I'm not the only one that uses it, but the point is, it's true. It's wine that really reflects where it comes from as purely as possible. I don't use any new oak on anything. The wine ages in wood, but it's old wood. So there's no new oak flavor, aroma, or texture. And so, and it's 100% estate. So I use that term honest wine because I think it really fits there. It's truly where it comes from. There's a great, bird's eye view of the Santa Ynez Valley. So the Santa Rita Hills actually lies within another AVA called the Santa Ynez Valley. That's what it used to be called. Even in 97 through 2001, we were still called the Santa Ynez Valley. But then we broke off because we felt it was different enough of a climate to warrant its own name. It doesn't mean that we're better or worse. It's a different climate out towards Lompoc. It's cold, and I live in Los Olivos, but the vineyard is right where that blue dot is in Santa Rita. And there's a difference during the summertime of 15, 20 degrees on any given day. So you can imagine, again, when I say this cold climate, it's region 1. There's 5 regions. The hottest is region 5. There's some vintages in Santa Rita Hills, we don't even register enough to be qualified for region 1. So again, this is a really cold climate. It's really unique. It's really special in that regard.
Plus those east to west mountain ranges that just drive that wind right in and keep you absolutely freezing cold right here.
Exactly. So it's a cold water current comes all the way down from Alaska. It's easily 50, 55 degrees ocean temperature on any given day. And then, yes, it just to the right of, Santa Ynez Valley, about 90 miles is the Mojave Desert, right? It's the hottest place in the continental US. And you can imagine, it's not that far away. Imagine how hot it gets there in the summertime. And what's created there is a vacuum. Heat rises, and the hotter it is, the faster it rises. And so it pulls off of this cold Pacific Ocean. So not only is it cool in Santa Rita, it's really windy. And it's the wind that's coming right off that cold ocean that kind of, it keeps our temperatures between 72 and 76 degrees during the summertime, right? Where it's the hottest part of the year everywhere else in the Northern Hemisphere. Our hottest, our average temperature is 73, 74 degrees during the daytime. So it's cold. The important part is that it's still sunny, right? So we use this term refrigerated sunlight. Here's a great example of, that picture right there is facing due west. So just over those hills, the eucalyptus trees right there is the town of Lompoc, and just beyond that is the ocean. And all that fog, all that moisture you see right there, it sits out there in the evening, and then it's brought in, and then in the morning it recedes out, and then the wind picks up. This is a great example of just the Santa Rita Hills, during the summer, cold, foggy, but then again, the wind picks up. Can you hit the next one, Ian? So we emphasize this term wine growing, and if you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense. It's a different philosophy of winemaking, and it's kind of a strange term for people to get their head around. But if you think about it, again, we own our own land, we do our own farming. We're really growing wine. We really truly believe in that the magic is outside. This is an example of one of the things that we do to the soil during wintertime is we plant this cover crop. It's a blend of 5 different plants. They're all legume based, so they're affixing nitrogen, but they're also massive root structure growers. And what happens, after about 5 or 6 months of this growth, receiving the winter rains, we just mow it down and we lay it right on top. And what happens then is all that root structure, massive amount of root structure, decomposes right there in the soil, right where you want it to. And that feeds all the microbiology, all the fungi, and creates this healthy soil. We're not trying to change the soil. We're not playing God here. It's embracing it and helping it. The soils here where I am they're ancient marine soils. There's a lot of diatomaceous earth. They're really well drained, low nutrient. So you can imagine the impact that this has on the soil. It's not changing the composition, but it's allowing the soil to live and breathe and be healthy. I'm I'm super geeky about this. Like I love to smell soil. Let's grab a clump and stick it in my face and smell it. I'm not smelling it like I smell a wine and pulling out characteristics. What I'm smelling for is the intensity of the aroma. You know, I've smelled soils before where they're sterile, there's nothing there, but this is one of those examples. If you really focus on wine growing and cover cropping and building up organic matter, then the soil actually smells alive. To the left here is a beautiful shot. Actually, Britt, the assistant wine grower here at Melville, go Gauchos, took that shot. It's a typical cluster. It's actually the Estrella clone, which is a very popular, successful clone in Santa Rita Hills. I know, like to the north, especially, you know, north of Paso, even, you know, Russian River, like the Estrella clone isn't super popular, but for us, it works really, really well. Andrew Murray's got great info on the Estrella clone he can add. And then that's just a picture of night harvest. I mean, everybody seems to be harvesting at night these days anyways. The idea there is just, you know, avoid the potential threat of a warm morning or a warm afternoon. You bring the fruit in cold. It's produce. It's like refrigeration. You don't go to the grocery store and buy, you know, hot eggs, right? So it's the same idea here. You bring the fruit in cold. It takes more effort, you know, but again, being a state, you control the vineyard, you control the crew, where you pick, when you pick, how much you want to pick. Super important stuff. It's all part of the wine growing. Hit the next slide, Ian. The left slide is whole cluster. You know, this is how we get, well, first of all, whole cluster is fermenting, you know, with the stems intact with the fruit, right? So during the fermentation process, it's not just the berries and the seeds and the skins, it's actually with the stem. So think about when you go to the grocery store and you buy a cluster of grapes, you don't eat the stems, you're just eating the grapes. In this case, we're fermenting with the stems. It's a very traditional thing to do. It's not a typical thing to do. More and more people do it. We've always done it this way. I love the fact that the stems, if they're grown and farmed properly, you get ripe stems. The stems really add an element aromatically to the wine. Like it brings out a lot of savoriness, a lot of pepper, a lot of minerality, which balances out the fruitiness. And in California, that's an important thing because California has a lot of sunshine and California wines can be very fruit driven. So this is a technique that we use to kind of balance out the fruitiness by offering the wine savoriness. Got to be careful. You got to make sure that they're the right type of stem. Otherwise it can get really green and weedy and bitter. The slide or the picture on the right is just what we do at harvest time. We punch down everything by hand. Everything's fermented in these little tiny 1.5 ton open top fermenters. It's funny, someone pointed out to me that picture looks like Honey, Who Shrunk the Kids? Because there's those bigger barrels back there and I'm using a big punch down tool. It's kind of funny, but those are 1.5 ton open top fermenters, which is basically 100 cases at a time, right? So we make a total of 9,000 cases, but we make it by hand 100 cases at a time. So it's important, you know, you dissect the vineyard into many different pieces that allows you to kind of taste through, you know, in barrel the whole time during élevage, and you get to know the vineyard better by doing so.
Nice.
Next slide, por favor. So I think this is the last slide, perhaps, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just end it here. You know, with this wine in your glass, you know, one of the things that I think is important to pay attention to is that this wine is not in your face. It's not a loud wine. It's a very subtle, it's very pretty, it's very like feminine in character. It has a lot of like white pepper, a lot of lavender, violet, you know, kind of purple flower. It's got some beautiful minerality to it. It has bright acidity, it's fresh, it's zippy, it's alive, it's electric. You know, the wine sits on the mouth, it has some weight. Again, it's not like overtly weighty and big and unctuous, but it's present and it has concentration. And then it has a little bit of tannin there, right? So when you stick your nose in here, let's just say you did it blind, you would be like, wow, like, you know, it has a lot of characteristics of like Saint Joseph, a lot of Northern Rhone, black olive, and, you know, cured meat and lavender, right? But then it also has this element of California, like that kind of blackberry and blueberry fruit. It has the zippiness of a cold climate, like that acidity that's hitting the mouth. And so it kind of takes you all over the place. You know, the important thing here to also recognize is the lack of new wood, right? It's not often that you actually get to smell and taste wine from California or Europe that doesn't have any new oak. You know, there's nothing wrong with new oak, right? I appreciate new oak. I have lots of wine in my own personal cellar that has new oak. So I'm not anti-new oak. I'm just saying that, you know, with Melville, again, if you really believe in wine growing, you really believe the magic is outside, that oak ingredient, I don't want it in the wine. And so you got to make sure then your fruit is dialed. You got to make sure that you're working with clean, pristine fruit, because otherwise you're vulnerable, you're naked. You don't have anything to kind of cover up a blemish. So my point is, it's not normal to be able to smell and taste wine that does not have that oak element to it, right? It's the difference between like Blanco tequila and añejo, right? It's like the Blanco is so pure. If you really want to know what tequila smells like and tastes like, you go down the Blanco route, right? That doesn't mean that añejo is bad, right? Añejo is awesome. I love it too. And so that's the difference, right? I'm not here, you know, saying like, oh, you know, we're better, or we do it, you know, better than anyone else. You'll never hear me say that, right? It's like, I think all the wineries here tonight are like restaurants. We all create really good food, and we all have our own style. And there's nothing that says one's better than the other. I hope that all makes sense.
That made perfect sense, and that was a great way to position this, because what I love about this lineup tonight and all the nights that we're going to be doing this is that these wines represent the personality of the brand. They represent the personality of the place, and it's absolutely one of my favorite things about the wine industry is that there is a different, you know, style for every moment and for everyone. Some people like them big and loud, and some people like them a little more restrained, and that's just what's great about the wine industry, is there's something for everybody.
Absolutely.
And this is just a fantastic rendition. I love the way that you pointed out the stem inclusion, because you could just get a little bit of that in the nose of the wine too, that savory element that's evident there. A beautiful wine and a great way to get started. And thank you very much, Chad. I'm so excited. I'm sorry we couldn't get the rest of the flight to you in Montana, but I'm pretty sure you got some other good wine that you're enjoying up there.
It's all good.
Doing any snow sport?
Yeah, my
are you doing any snow sport while you're up there?
I am, yeah. I'm kind of taking it easy because I got a hurt knee. I'm old now, but yes, absolutely. It's beautiful up here. I love it. It's awesome. And no, I don't have everybody's wine in front of me, but Britt, who's on this Zoom, she's my assistant wine grower. She's on it. So she's digging everything, and I'm happy.
Where's Britt at? Where's Britt?
He's on here somewhere. Britt, say hi. Anyway.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, what's up?
I'm so glad you got the wine and you get to taste with us. That's great. And it's really too bad about what happened with Andrew Murray, huh? You just couldn't make the Zoom tonight?
Hopefully.
He's there. And Andrew, we're going to go right to you now as we're running a little bit behind, but we want to just take a second because my intro got a little kind of messed up. But I want to thank everybody for your patience, as I just couldn't get a Wi-Fi signal. So I just went around the office and turned off every other computer that's here so I could conserve bandwidth. But good to see some great friends and supporters here. And I just wanted to say hello. Lisa, thank you for joining us in Santa Monica.
You're welcome. You have to, Erin's up there. She's one of the new club members. She's up there.
Right.
She's got a great setup, and she has two. She has one at her place in Morro Bay and one in Clovis.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa. Andrea, where are you zooming in from tonight? I just asked you to unmute there.
I'm in Pasadena. I'm here with a bunch of friends tonight, so it's fun to see everybody that.
Cool.
I know. It's a great group.
Great. And Josh and Jen, again, thank you for joining us, guys. Always wonderful to have you. David.
Thanks.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And I love your little wine posts that you guys are doing. Very fun. I saw your Instagram. It's looking great. David Svek, thank you so much.
Good to be here. This is my parents are on the other end, 300 miles away.
Wow. Where are they? We want to say hi to David's folks.
They're
in San Jose.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you very much. And Jeffrey Abbott, how are you doing down the South Bay? Is that where we're finding you tonight? Yeah, cool. Pia out in Pasadena, always looking good. Thank you so much for joining us. Cynthia Bloombaum, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm in Oakland.
All right.
And I just taught a cheese and charcuterie class.
Fantastic. Oh, you're feeling good then.
And I'm feeling, so I have a little bit of leftover cheeses here, so I hope anybody doesn't mind me chomping.
That's
but
totally a Zoom appropriate.
And I
did we send you the
yes,
wine, Cynthia? Did you get the wine
exactly.
kit? Did you get the wine kit up there okay?
Yes, I did. And prior to COVID, I was teaching wine classes, and now I've been doing cheese classes, but now I'm taking everyone's example on how to ship samples of wine. So that's another reason why I signed up for this.
That's cool.
I want to see how everyone is doing.
It's a lot of work,
So now
especially
that's
when you
perfect.
it has a lot of work, especially when your designers are in Minnesota and we're hours away. But hi, Chelsea. How are you? You're at Topless Creek up in Paso.
I am. Well, right now I'm at home, but yes. Yeah. Finished bottling today and glad to be here right now.
Cool. Well, I want to say hi to the rest of you throughout the night. We'll take a couple breaks and continue to do so. But before we go and see Andrew, let me just introduce my friend, Greg Gura. Greg, where are you, buddy?
I'm right here, Ian.
Excellent. Greg and I have worked together for years, and Greg is organizer of our charity efforts, and we worked together with TJ Martell Foundation for years, and with COVID and TJ Martell being a live event business, they went away, and Greg has found another route to give money to Children's Hospital Los Angeles, Unite the United, a couple of a really good group of music industry professionals is allowing us to pass the money right through to Children's Hospital. So the auction that we have tonight, which Greg helped put together, 100% goes to the charity. So take a look at the auction.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to get nervous if they see on their credit card statements, Unite the United Foundation. But when we started the Zoom thing, we found out it was a little difficult to donate directly to the hospital and to make sure that it got into the right hands, primarily the cancer research department there at Children's Hospital. So we went through a friend's 501c3 and we put all these auctions together throughout the year. And in December, we add them all up and we write them one nice check. So it's been great. This has been our fourth one. And thank you. I was looking back at some of our records. I noticed that we've had 37 different people win the auctions. So yeah, this has been a great, going from a live event to a Zoom event. It's been awesome. The one thing that I do miss from you, Ian, is when we're closing out the auction, I miss your hype skills.
Yeah, my not so silent auction skills, but we could maybe figure out a way to make it a little bit more interesting. But this auction actually stays open until, what is it, Sunday, Greg?
Sunday at 9 p.m.
So here's what we're going to do, Greg. Each of the next 2 nights, we're going to go in and we're going to look at the leaderboard. So if you're on the leaderboard, we're going to make sure you get a shout out every single night. So get your name on the leaderboard, and we're going to thank you for contributing each night. And I think that that's by the way, when you get outbid on an auction, you just raised money. That's really what it's about. is bidding early and getting outbid. That's my secret. I bid on everything I ever wanted, and I rarely win any of it because somebody outbid me. But it is a great idea to get in early, let somebody outbid you. Bid at the bottom bid, and if you win, you're getting something that's probably even lower than retail, and that's a really good
we're
deal.
starting everything off at 50% off retail, and once you win Monday, I'll connect you right with the wineries, and they'll ship it straight to your house.
That's right. So it's a really good deal for everybody. Greg, thank you. We'll check back in. Maybe you can pick an item or two and we'll put it on the Zoom. Send me a link and I'll pull it up and we'll just show people a couple of things.
Yeah, pretty much right after the winemakers are talking, I try to put the direct link right up there.
Oh, cool. I'll make sure I grab that.
Okay.
All right, Andrew, thank you for your patience, buddy. Where are you, buddy? There you are. Let's get rocking. Andrew Murray, I'm so happy to see you. I don't know if you remember meeting me like 30 years ago when I had a lot of hair, but
we both had more hair.
But I've been into your tasting room a ton of times, and I really appreciate you being on the Zoom with everybody tonight.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
And we're going to be tasting wine number 2 with Andrew. Let me get into the Andrew Murray slideshow, and there we go.
Yeah, I texted Chad here when during that last little bit that I think he was the only Syrah tonight, so he was a bit mortified that he thought he was speaking about the coolest part of Syrah. But we decided to go very contrarian tonight and go with a varietal Mourvedre, which I figured no one else would do. Since it's not the world's sexiest variety, but it's something that really shines on our new estate. So that's why we chose this particular wine tonight. Awesome.
Well, I am excited to learn all about your Mourvedre. I am seeing, a lot of Rhone producers paying more attention to Mourvedre, and I think we have another one tonight that's a very Mourvedre leaning. But yours is pure?
Ours is 100%. I think you're speaking of the Topless Creek, of which I'm a big fan. We grow some of the Topless clones on the estate, so it's fun to see them, and can't wait to taste their wine tonight.
Great.
Let me just conclude Chad's presentation because he basically did my whole presentation, just because I'm about 15 miles east and inland of him. But let me just say this. I hope you guys all enjoyed how ethereal Chad's Syrah is. I mean, it's a beautiful expression. It's when he says lavender and white pepper, it's in spades. So it's a stunning expression of Syrah, and always admired it. And it's so pure. It's fun to taste tonight. Even if if these wines were all blind, I would have known that was his. So I know the wines that intimately. They're beautiful. So, but yeah, I went a totally different way. I went with Mourvedre. And then Ian, if you could advance the slides a couple, I realize I think I gave them to you out of order. We'll get back to the estate, but I want to do the slide that shows our history because we have a little bit. There I am with more hair and very young kids. Those little kids are now 22 and 19. It's hard to believe, but we've been around a minute. But I first started right on Fox and Canyon Road on my family land. We planted a vineyard. I just graduated high school, so it was literally the fall right after graduating high school. I planted 15 acres of what I thought was Viognier. That story gets more interesting in a minute, but we planted a vineyard, and it was where we wanted to plant something for forever. You lay down roots. It's a long, big time investment. You hope you can do it for a very long time. We thought we picked the perfect place, and we think we did. But it was about 15 miles inland of where Chad is, and because we were focusing exclusively on Rhone varieties, we thought it was just this perfect spot. It was uplifted hillsides, ancient soils, very poor, a lot of north-facing slopes, very difficult to get a lot of different varieties ripe. In fact, one of the really fun things about sharing our Mourvedre tonight is we only made, I think, 2 varietal Mourvedres off the old estate because it was never really warm enough to ever get it ripe enough for my taste. So we ran that vineyard, and as Chad alluded to, we believed and benefited from the wonderful, what was going on in the early 1990s. You know, everything that had been learned, all the mistakes that had been made from the 60s, 70s, and 80s about vine density, about overcropping. Everything was learned, everything was new, and so we were benefiting from those, from all that information. And the minute you plant a vineyard, I believe you're a little bit wrong because they're forever and things are always evolving. Climate is always changing, but it still felt like we were at the precipice of something amazing. So I fell in love with Rhone varieties on a chance trip to Burgundy with my parents while I was in high school. I know that's super ironic, but it's all I've ever done. It's all I've ever focused on since that moment. So we laid down roots back in 1990 on Fox and Canyon Road. So I think we were very much within the second wave of development in Santa Barbara County. We were helped by friends and neighbors down the street, the folks at Foxen. They were instrumental in helping us pick our blocks, pick our varieties, pick our clones. And we went out of the area, we planted Estrella for sure, because that was available to us just north of us in Paso Robles. But we also thought we were getting Syrah from Kleinstellers up in Sonoma. But it turns out that the Klein varieties that we thought we were getting were absolutely the very wrong clones, the very wrong variety. So it was a huge nursery mistake and it was a disaster, but we persisted on. We grew that estate from 1990 through 2005. And in 2005, my folks, where I was squatting, decided to sell. And so we moved on to this photo that if you go back one, Ian, thank you. You will see the Curtis estate. So the very cool thing about moving onto this estate in 2005, not only was this amazing opportunity to get to work with a diverse array of varieties, I had actually helped plant all the Rhone varieties on this estate. I had developed a vineyard up in Paso Robles on the east side, sadly, with a great guy, Tony Dominguez, and we had got some new Antav clones. We got clone 369 of Mourvedre, 513 of Grenache, and it was difficult to get and propagate those clones at that time. And Curtis was looking to expand their estate and grow more Rhone varieties. And so we took our cuttings in the middle of the night, quite illegally, without paying the Antav royalty fees. Sorry if anyone on the Zoom here tonight works with or for Antav or Sunridge Nurseries.
Andrew, this is being recorded, right?
Yeah, it is, I guess. Patrick Comiskey has a great question. Thanks, Patrick. It's only a couple miles away from our original estate. So it's just west, south and west of the original estate. So it's very near and dear. In fact, we almost share a border with the old place. So the neat thing is we were able to, without even knowing that we were going to have the opportunity to farm this 100 acres with vines as old as 47 years now. It's really cool. Yes, slightly cooler, Patrick, and more uplifted, almost the same elevation. So we're about 1,200 feet on this property, which is a complexing point of view because yes, it is further west, so slightly cooler. The elevation helps, but it also means that we're above a lot of the fog. So we're able to get a variety like Mourvedre ripe almost every vintage, and especially as of late. And so I wanted to be a bit of a contrarian and bring this wine tonight because I figured everyone was going to bring Syrah. It's so fun to see so many blends. But Mourvedre is not the world's most sexy variety. I mean, if you've put your nose in a glass of Bandol, I mean, unless you're just an adherent to Mourvedre, you've tasted leather and funk and mostly Brettanomyces, in my humble opinion. And we think that we're expressing a very different side of Mourvedre. It ripens extremely late. So Chad will talk about ripening Syrah in a cold climate. This is the equivalent of a cold climate for Mourvedre. we tend to pick in mid to early November. Our latest pick of Mourvedre was long after Thanksgiving, just before the beginning of December. So it's late. It'll actually retain natural acidity up until that point. So it's just an amazing variety in this very stressed out climate. So very poor soils, uplifted, gravelly, sandy. We don't have a lot of calcareous material, but where the Mourvedre is grown, the clone 369, the Spanish clone, super, super sandy and well drained. And it's there on this map. But we can move probably forward at this point. We should, wine growing. Chad's not the only one who grows wine. Chad's not the only one who picks at night. I think most of us do. But it's neat to see that. It wasn't done in the 90s for sure. It was a very foreign concept, and it's been slowly absorbed into the vernacular of current wine growing. We also make all of our wines in small open top bins, mostly 1.5 tons. For the Mourvedre, we will go as big as 3.5 tons, just to get a little bit more heat and extraction. The neat thing about those bins is they're not temperature controlled. Yes, we have a winery that is temperature controlled, but for the most part, we want the wines to get as warm as possible. And frankly, they rarely ever get warm enough. We're looking for that extractive potential that we get from heat, but we rarely get it. So with our Mourvedre, again, and I'm new to falling in love with Mourvedre. It's just slowly becoming something that I'm realizing that our estate has a tremendous potential for. And we make a red blend called Espérance that we've been slowly upping the Mourvedre quotient in every year. And now it's the second most dominant blend. I've created almost a super cuvée from the estate that is actually Mourvedre dominant called Étranger. And we're slowly doing more and more with Mourvedre. It's a stunning variety, especially when grown in an environment where it struggles to ripen, yet it still can consistently ripen, which I find very important. And I'm sure Tablas Creek will be able to speak to that. We grow Tablas clone as well. We use that in our blend, but this is predominantly clone 369, a Spanish clone that we really love. It's a little darker, it's a little spicier. And I love to see how dark it is in the glass. It's 100% Mourvedre, all destemmed. We do add yeast to this wine because it comes in so cold. We want it to ferment pretty quickly. We think Mourvedre tends to be a little bit higher pH and is a perfect medium for Brettanomyces. And it's also picked so late in the season that it gets cold really quickly as soon as harvest completes. So we find that you can get sluggish or stuck fermentation with Mourvedre. So we just want it to finish. So we look for an expeditious finish. We do add yeast. It ages in mostly neutral barrels, but we'll introduce 1 or 2 new barrels per vintage. There's a shot of us cluster sorting, which we do on all of our picks, picking at night. And then we love these visual tasting notes, if you will. And you can see that, we called out for blueberry, red peppercorn, gravel, earth, mixed fruits and nuts and gravel, and certainly some spicy baking spice characteristics. So hope you guys are tasting and enjoying and experiencing our Mourvedre, and something very much a different wine, varietally at least, exclusively varietal tonight.
I think it's cool, Andrew, that you don't find that many 100% Mourvedres out there in the marketplace. Maybe Patrick could speak to that too, but that's awesome that you do this. I know this wine. I don't have it in front of me, but I know this wine and I love this wine. And again, I think it's awesome that you take that chance. You put it out there all by itself, 100% Mourvedre. Nicely done.
Thanks,
That's
Chad.
a nice thing I'll never tell you too.
Cool. I don't know if Patrick wants to. I'm sure it hurts to tell me that. I'm sure.
You want me to talk to you? So Mourvedre is interesting because it has a long history in the United States that isn't. It's not known for being, a heritage variety, but it keeps turning up, and it keeps turning up in some really interesting places. You find it in Sonoma County quite a bit. You can find it in Geyserville and Healdsburg and some of those places. It's also very much a part of the Contra Costa County old vineyards that Portuguese, Spanish, and Italians planted in the 19th century. So there are these incredibly strange, anomalous, wonderful vineyards of Zinfandel, Carignan, Mourvèdre, Grenache to some extent, all found in these strange sand flats on the San Joaquin River, kind of east and a little bit south of Napa Valley. And it's pure sand there, so it's very amenable to Mourvèdre, and it also is resistant to phylloxera, so it is a great place for old vines. I'm in the midst of researching an article about Contra Costa that will appear in Wine and Spirits probably next issue, but there's so much to say about it. But suffice to say that Mourvèdre loves sand, and so to hear it that Andrew is that this place is primarily sand-based makes total sense to me. It also kind of, Mourvèdre loves and needs heat, and so the sand kind of radiates heat in a very nice way as well. This is a beautiful wine. I mean, it really is. It kind of is it's Mourvèdre at its most effulgent. It just really feels like this thing is singing a high note, and Mourvèdre is not good for high notes, but it really is. This one really does lay it out there. So kudos. Thanks Andrew. Great wine.
Cheers, Patrick. Thanks for weighing in. I love all that geek. Good geek.
Yeah, I'm good for geek.
I know that. Look at that. There, get his book.
That's right.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I read the book on the subject.
American Rhone by Patrick. Thank you, Patrick,
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
And I just want to echo what Chad closed with, is that, we're sort of a pitch to visiting the wineries up here, especially for the folks from just south of us. We're open, we're safely open. If you need to safely get away, consider it. By no means should you do it if you don't think it's safe for you. Everyone should make their own choice, but we're open and doing what we can. And it's beautiful in wine country right now. It's been like, today was a stunning, breezy, very traditional day in wine country. And this photo shows that we get snow in our local mountains. That's the San Rafael Mountains. That's Grass Mountain right behind me. Pretty beautiful up there. So cheers, you guys. Thanks for having me tonight.
Andrew, thank you. Is it appointment only to come and visit you? Is that how it works?
No, I mean, we prefer it just so we know you're coming, but no, the winery is pretty big and spacious, and we've got lots of outdoor grounds, so you're able to just show up as well. So, but I think a lot of wineries right now are predominantly appointment only just because of COVID restrictions. So,
yeah. Well, thank you for showing us such a beautiful rendition, and great. We started off with two pure plays on two very important Rhone varieties, and we're going to move to Lassiter. And representing Lassiter, Danielle Langlois. How are you, Danielle?
I'm doing great. How are you tonight?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Let me bring you up there. And you're sitting in Sonoma County right now?
Yes, I'm in Sonoma County at home. So I just want to say that I also am a huge lover of Mourvèdre. I actually make 100% Mourvèdre for my personal wine label. I get the grapes from a farm called Castano Vineyards in Contra Costa County, which is in 100 feet of sand, and those are old heritage vines. So, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, cherry and pepper and super delicious. And so I'm a huge proponent. I love it. And I've actually, at my career at Lassiter, which is short, but hopefully will be very long, I've been sneaking more and more Mourvèdre into our Rhone blends. So, and actually the vine behind me is from Castano Vineyards. So that's an old heritage Mourvedre vine, if you can see it.
Look at that.
Beautiful, beautiful. So,
Love it out.
okay, so for Lassiter Family Winery, I'm the winemaker there, and we are an estate vineyard. We actually have several vineyards. One is in Glen Ellen on the rolling hills there, where we plant, we have most of our Rhone, actually all of our Rhone varietals planted. And then we also have a small parcel of land up in the Moon Mountain AVA, where we grow mostly cab. But so John and Nancy Lassiter bought the estate back in the 90s because they came to Sonoma and tasted wine on their honeymoon and absolutely loved it. This is actually the label Amaro. They tasted Malbec and decided they absolutely loved it. They had to move to Glen Ellen and purchase a vineyard, and they purchased a heritage site. And then John and Nancy went to the regions of Rhone and traveled through there and tasted the wines there, and they just went crazy for Grenache and the Rhone varietals. And they soon met up with Phil Couturi, who is a huge proponent. He's a viticulturist up here in the Sonoma Valley of organic vines, taking care of the earth, and then also a huge proponent of Rhone wines. So it was a great marriage between them, and we've been cultivating, I think we have 5 different clones of Grenache on our property, on top A, B, C, D, actually 6, Old Hill, and then Alban clone. So that's actually really awesome. So in our wine, it's tonight that you're tasting tonight, the 2017 Chemin de Fer. Chemin de Fer means railroad in French, so it's kind of a wink to, you know, the trains that go through the region of the Southern Rhone. And also John has a personal train on the property, and you can see the picture of the label right there, and that's the train moving through the vineyards. So tonight we have a 50% Grenache dominant wine, and it has the Alban clone and then Ontav's B and D in there. It's got 27% Mourvedre and then 13% Syrah. So the fun thing about all of the Rhones on our property and making a blend is that we can do a lot of fun things with them. Like we can ferment them by themselves, like a completely Grenache ferment, and then we can do co-ferments just to see how, you know, the wines will marry with each other while they're fermenting, which is really, really fun to always do. And then we have a lot of different mediums that we use. So we do use about 30% new oak, and it's usually Francois Frere new oak that we use. And then we also use new oak puncheons, neutral puncheons, which are the giant barrels. And we also have cement barrels. So what we do in order to blend our Rhone varietals is we taste every single vessel. So even if it's the same lot that we bring in, it's just a Grenache lot, we'll taste every single barrel that it's in, and we'll decide which blend it will appropriately go into, because every different vessel brings a different take on the same lot of wine. That's really, really cool to taste. So you'll have a new oak vessel, you'll have an old oak puncheon, you'll have a cement barrel, which makes the wine taste really, really clean. And it's really, really cool to be able to taste completely through that. And then we brought on a consultant, Philippe Combi, who's really well known in the Rhone for his blending technique, and he will help us put together the perfect blends for our 3 different Rhone varietals that we offer. Our 3 different Rhone blends that we offer. So I hope you have this glass in front of you and you're smelling and tasting this wine. The on top clones that we use are kind of a a bigger bang for your buck. It gets really hot where we are. We're actually probably one of the hottest farms in Sonoma Valley, but it stays cool at night. So it allows the vines to recover. So we have these hot days and these cool nights. So the fact that the vines get to recover means we can stretch out the ripening season. So that means that you can get some really amazing flavors that come through in the wine. So what I get is lots of berries, kind of a fruit leather taste, like the healthy fruit roll-ups that you used to get from the health food stores, if you've ever tasted those. A lot of berry, raspberry, just a bigger wine than what we've tasted earlier tonight. And I forgot to mention, just like Chad and Andrew, we're 100% organic on the farm, and we really do also believe that great wine is made in the vineyard. You know, I work really closely with Phil Katuri, and we're always out tasting and deciding, you know, what should be done with each particular block, and even small sections within a block to make the perfect wine, which is what you can do when you're all estate. So yeah, I hope you are enjoying the wine, and if you have any questions, we had a small video of tasting so you can see the property a little bit. I'm hoping that the sound is turned off. And it was a little catchy.
I'll try to turn it off for us, Danielle.
Okay.
I'll hit
it was a little.
Yeah, it starts
So this is our beautiful estate, and you can see the Grenache clones right when you enter. And we are open right now. You can come in. We are by appointment only, but we have this beautiful patio you saw right there, where you can come and taste under a heated umbrella if you prefer, and be on our property. And we're actually giving COVID-friendly tours of the vineyard right now. So we have a Rhone program and a Bordeaux program, and we have whites and rosé. And then we offer a cheese plate. So you have something that you taste with every single wine, which makes it really cool. And all of the people who work for us in the direct-to-consumer are so knowledgeable and so friendly. Sometimes they teach me things. So I think that's pretty neat. That's our barrel room there. Yeah, so I haven't checked the questions if anybody has any questions.
Let's see.
Danielle, my name is David. It's a spectacular wine. It's just
thank you.
The balance and the fruit and the I wonder, you're the Alban clone from John and that area. So what kind of influence does John have? How did that all come to pass?
John Lasseter?
No, the Alban clone, isn't that?
Oh, the Alban clone.
Yeah, how did that all?
Well, I think it's just something that it was a great clone that I don't know if it was actually, I'm not quite sure how it came to be on the property.
Yeah, is that the one the Albans brought back from Europe? He was one of the those Rhone Ranger guys.
Gotcha.
That's his clone, right? He brought that. Yeah. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Phil. Phil brought it back and put it on the property.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
He's a great character. He's quite a guy.
I mean, we kind of call him, we slightly nicknamed him the Godfather of Rhone up in Sonoma, because he's so, every single vineyard he takes care of, he's like sneaking Rhone varietals onto it. So, which is great because I love it.
Excellent wine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Patrick Comiskey asked if, what is the name of your label?
Oh, Jambe de Bois, which means wooden leg in French. It's got I'll post the website on the chat, but it's just a small label. I actually made, the Mourvèdre that I made was my first wine ever. I bought, because Mourvèdre is cheap because nobody knows about it. So I was able to get an affordable 1-ton lot of the Castano Farms Mourvèdre in 2014 and make a wine that was just for drinking, and kind of crossed my fingers and was like, I hope this is at least drinkable. And it just made me fall in love with Mourvèdre because it was so delicious. So
Yes. Cool. Well, back into your slideshow. We just got a couple more seconds here to finish up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But a little bit of the hillside.
So this is the shot of our Trinity Ridge property, which I was talking about, is in the Moon Mountain AVA. And there we grow Cabernet, Merlot, Cab Franc, and Sauv Blanc. And we're actually thinking about planting a little bit of Chardonnay, but it's, you know, it's basically in the top of the mountains, gorgeous views. And it makes just really beautiful struggling Cabernet. So some good stuff out of there.
Fantastic. Well, we'll have to include it on our future trips to Sonoma. And I thank you for being our Sonoma representative tonight.
Yeah. I want to say thank you so much to everybody on the Zoom for joining us and tasting with us. I hope you're having a good time. Thanks for having Lassiter.
Thank you so much. So we've been to Santa Barbara, Sonoma, and now we're going to go down to Paso. But before we do, I just wanted to check in with a couple other folks here and say hello and see how you're feeling. Michael McConnell, is that the legend himself, is on the Zoom? That's so cool. Thanks for joining us tonight, buddy. So glad you could join us. Are you guys open for doing food down in Newport Beach yet? Can I ask you that? I'm gonna ask you to unmute. There you are, Michael. I got you now. Nope, I can't hear you again. Hold the space bar. There you go.
Ian, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, great. No, we're open in Laguna Beach. We have a parking lot that's open, lit, music's out there, and we're doing about 144 on the weekend, so it's good.
Cool. What's the name of the restaurant?
Broadway Mar Santana.
Awesome place.
Yes,
Mike will take really good care of you.
Excuse me?
I said you'll take really good care of him.
Oh, God. Please come down and see us. We'd love to have you. And we've got the beekeeper down there.
All right.
Come have some Zinfandel.
Well, I appreciate that for sure. Well, really nice to see your face, buddy. Thank you for joining us tonight.
And it was good to see Patrick on there. I haven't seen Patrick since a couple tastings a year ago.
Nice. Yeah, it's always good to see Patrick and Sabrina and Grace. Good to see you too. Thank you for joining me, ladies. Hope you're having a good time. Julie, how are you? Do you have any of your entourage with you tonight, sir?
No, just me tonight, but loving it. I'll be here all 3 nights.
All right. Hi, Aaron Dolan. Aaron Dolan. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. We're enjoying dinner, enjoying the wines.
Oh, excellent. Good. Jeffrey T, where are you zooming in from? Oh, you got your headset? You're on a call? Excellent. You are ready, sir. Fantastic. Good job. Ragnar, I see you there, buddy. How you feeling? Okay? Hope you're doing all right, buddy. David and Maria out in the valley, and Wendy, always good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Greg, how are things on the auction looking? Should I open up the auction now? Let me see if I can find a link real quick.
There you are. The auction's off to a good start. We have 4 bids.
All right. Well,
so yeah.
Let's just take a look at what we're doing here on the auction, and just to show you how easy it is. There you go. It looks like Andrew Murray's Magnum is sitting right now about $70. It's got a value of $150, and
I'm gonna buy it.
All right. And we do get a lot of support from the wine industry, so not necessarily buying your own wine, but you're welcome to. But there's so many great items to flip through and check out, so please do. And like I said, bid often, bid early, get outbid, and raise some money.
And Ian, if we are giving out early shout out to Lisa and Norma.
All right, Lisa and Norma. Thank you very much. Chelsea, are you ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, without any further ado, Topless Creek. I'm going to add the spotlight. And I'll bring up your PowerPoint.
All right. So wine number 4, just to make sure we're not confused at all.
Sorry about my tasting mat saying 5, but
or 5. So thanks so much for having us. This is a really, really cool get together and fun to see some familiar faces on here. So my name is Chelsea. I'm the senior assistant winemaker at Topless Creek, and I've been there for about 13 years. So to kick things off, I'm just going to do a little bit of background and history on Topless Creek, because that is incredibly important when you're talking about the wines we make, the reason behind why we make the wines we do. So if you'll skip ahead to the next slide.
I'm so excited to get some of your wine in my mouth there. All right.
You do. Take your time, Ian. So we'll just jump to the next one. So Topless Creek is really at its core an intersection between a French winemaking family and an American wine importer. So Topless Creek started as a partnership between the Perrin family of famed Chateau de Beaucastel in the Châteauneuf-du-Pape region of the Rhone Valley, and a gentleman by the name of Robert Haas, who started Vineyard Brands Importing Company. So the two of these men got together when Vineyard Brands became the sole exporter of Chateau de Beaucastel into the United States. And they realized at the time that there was, a great winemaking opportunity to be had in the United States. So they decided that it would be rather interesting to try their hand at doing a Rhone style project somewhere here stateside. After searching for quite some time, they settled on Paso Robles. And if you'll skip to the next slide, please. So Paso Robles and our particular spot actually really fulfilled 3 essential requirements. So in order to grow the Rhone varieties that we wanted to grow that they have at Chateau de Beaucastel, we needed a Mediterranean climate. So we needed nice, warm growing degree days with nice cold nights so that we get the sugar accumulation during the day, but then in the evenings when it gets so nice and cold, we're able to hold on to those acidities, because acidity is really extremely important to what we do here at Topless Creek, to make sure that we're making those beautiful balanced wines. We have a pretty intense diurnal shift of upwards of 50 degrees. So during the growing season, we'll have 100-degree afternoons, which is a little brutal when you're out on the forklift on the crush pad and it's just sweltering out there. But then at night, it gets down to 50 degrees. So layering is pretty important out at our property. We need an annual rainfall that would allow us to dry farm the property. They are legally not allowed to irrigate, with the exception of a handful of varieties in the Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And we wanted to experiment with that, even though we're not held to it here in California, because this is the Wild West and we do as we please, really. And then the last thing was we wanted that calcareous clay soil that they experience in the Rhone. So that nice high pH soil, which yields slightly lower pH wines, which again, acidity is super important to what we do. So if you'll skip to the next one, please. So this is just kind of a general timeline of how they did things. But the main thing that I want to point out from this is that when they purchased the property in 1989, there weren't a lot of options as far as clonal selections for some of these more unique varieties go. Everybody's talking about how weird and geeky Mourvèdre is, and I would like to respectfully disagree about the unsexiness of Mourvèdre, because I find it to be an unbelievably sexy grape variety, probably one of the most sultry. So in 1989, there weren't great clonal selections for us. So everybody's talking about those suitcase clones being brought in. Because we were doing a larger project, we wanted to make sure that we did things kind of on the up and up. So, no disrespect to anybody that did sneak them in, because that's pretty cool. But we went through the quarantine process. So the first batch of grape varieties that were brought in were sent to Cornell University. And it's a minimum 3-year quarantine process to make sure that you're not introducing all kinds of viruses and diseases to US agriculture. So we've brought in subsequent grape varieties through UC Davis. But essentially what that means is we've been able to introduce a lot of varieties to the United States that had never been planted here before. So if you'll skip to that next slide, please. So this is the list of the Chateauneuf-du-Pape varieties that we now have planted on our estate. And those that you see with asterisks, Topless Creek was the first to bring in and produce in the United States, which is really, really cool. So a lot of these varieties, like we brought in Baccarat for the first harvest ever last year, or 2 years ago. 2020 is like a weird lost year. So 2019 was the first harvest. And we have no frame of reference for this really, because a lot of these varieties, when they're produced in Chateauneuf-du-Pape, typically are co-fermented or blended away. So for us to be playing around with these varieties as single entities, it's a learning process. So we are just as doe-eyed as everybody else, and probably twice as excited, honestly. And the neat thing about this is we are starting to incorporate some of these lesser known varieties into some of our blends. So blending is what we do. We kind of follow more in that traditional Rhone style, where blends are really what we're known for. So the Esprit Blanc, so you have the Esprit Rouge tonight, but the Esprit Blanc is our flagship white wine. And in the last couple of years, we've included Clairette Blanche as well as Picardon into that blend. So it's pretty cool to kind of see these great varieties come into their own, if you will. So Ian, if you'll skip to the next slide, please. Another really important thing about Topless Creek, it kind of sounds like everybody so far has been, really riding that organic train, which is like the coolest thing for me to hear on a call like this. To see a group of individuals that think that farming is so paramount and so important, because it absolutely is. This land, we only get one shot at it. And because it took us so long to find our property, because it took us so long to get the grape varieties into the United States, and get them to a mature point where they're producing wines that we enjoy, we want to make sure that this land stays. So we've been certified organic since 2003. In 2018, I believe, we got certified biodynamic. So kind of just taking those organic steps that much further. And last year, we became the first ever first ever winery to be certified ROC, which is Regenerative Organic Certified. So this is kind of a project that that's Freddie Mercury that you're pointing out his haircut. So ROC was kind of spearheaded by Yvonne Chenard over at Patagonia, and kind of this project of basically just making sure that people understand that, oh yes, thank you, Patrick, that's exactly right. Definitely worth checking out his article on ROC, because it's really, really cool. But it's basically making sure that we satisfy 3 pillars. So we're not only taking care of the planet, as we would with organic and biodynamic, but we're also taking care of animal welfare, and we're also taking care of social welfare. So making sure that everybody in our organization, whether they have COVID here or not, are taken care of really, really well and understood and heard. And in the end, a better property makes better wines. So if you'll skip to the next one. So just to talk now that we've kind of raced through the Topless Creek backstory as quickly as you possibly can. The 2018 Esprit Topless, the Esprit used to be called the Esprit de Beaucastel because it is made in the spirit of our sister winery, Chateau de Beaucastel. So this is kind of our homage to Chateauneuf-du-Pape. Everything is 100% estate. Again, it's organically grown, biodynamically farmed. Everything's hand harvested, again, like all the other guys are saying, at night. And in contrast to what some of the others are talking about, we actually prefer to ferment our wines a little on the cooler side. We want to kind of stay away from that bigger, richer fruit because we're in Paso Robles, which is a very different growing climate than the experience down south of us. I mean, these guys are talking about, you know, that late ripening, and it was Andrew talking about picking, oh my God, picking Mourvedre after Thanksgiving, which stresses me out to no end. Because at that point you're getting a lot of pressure from rain and, you know, potential weather. Even if we are in California, eventually it'll come probably. So we pick ours late, but late for us is mid to late October. And we want to make sure we maintain that purity of fruit. So because it is so much warmer in Paso Robles, we do keep those ferments a little bit cooler just to make sure we maintain that vibrancy and that vivacity, which can be lost fairly easily in this hot climate that we have here. The 2018 was kind of a cool vintage because in 17 we did get a lot of rain, and in 18 we only got about 70% of our normal rainfall. So to have a drier year after that nice wet year was kind of that good balance of you know, healthy vines and just the right amount of stress. And I think the 18 reds in particular really show a great balance. You know, it really speaks to the vintage that we experienced that year. And this wine just has that really beautiful poise. It's always based on Mourvedre because that's what our sister winery bases their signature wine on. And I think it does bring forward a lot more of those really, again, sexy Mourvedre characteristics, you know, kind of that newer leather, kind of that baking spice quality, a little wood smoke, but it is it's lighter on its feet, especially after following that Lassiter, which was definitely more plush and rich on the palate. But this wine is built to last, and you can definitely feel that, and our wines are made to enjoy with food. So you want to make sure that balance is still there, especially with that nice bright acidity. And then, does anybody have any questions? I don't know if we're doing that.
Yeah, please. You're
okay.
Making it your own, and people are having a blast on the chat.
Yeah. So the blend, Cynthia, is 40% Mourvedre, and so it's always led with Mourvedre. This year, maybe a little bit lower than in previous years. We've had as high as 60% Mourvedre. And then it's followed by 27% Syrah, 23% Grenache, and 10% Counoise. So, you know, with these different varieties, our thinking, you know, everybody here is familiar with blends, and you're obviously Rhone fans. So, with these kind of harder edged Rhone varieties, like the Mourvedre and Syrah in particular, and sometimes Grenache too, to a lesser extent, but it can get those kind of gritty, sandy tannins sometimes. The Counoise, that 10% that you heard on the tail end there, is a lesser known Rhone variety that Topless Creek was the first to introduce. And it just kind of, it's a much lighter skinned variety. So it basically just smooths out some of those rough edges and polishes everything up and kind of wraps everything nicely in kind of a candy coated finish, I think. So.
Well, you know, as we were talking about when we got started tonight, you know, every brand has its own personality, and there's different things that shape that, the belief systems, your place, you know, what you aspire to be and show. And certainly the Robert Haas, you know, tradition, you know, and that connection with France is a very important ethos system that really sets you guys up on a path that's not only unique for everyone that we're showing tonight, but it's unique for Paso, it's unique for the Rhone Rangers movement. You really have been able to drive a wonderful expression into the California Rhone scene and really give it a lot of I think authenticity is a big important word in this modern wine world. And I'm not sure, I just want to ask the question of the group as everyone's watching. How many of you have been to Topless Creek? Have you been up to Paso? All right, yeah, that's great. And can't wait to travel with you guys up there. Look at David's got his bottle there. 2009.
Yeah, David and Maria have gone rogue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you? What's some of the back vintages you've been able to try? Because I'm anxious to open this, but I'm tempted to. I'm not gonna do it though. I'm gonna wait for a special occasion. But it's so I can't wait. Is any thoughts on the back vintages?
Yeah, definitely. So I would actually recommend emailing, and we'll kind of walk you through some of those older vintages, because if you're holding on to the 09, I'm guessing you have other vintages as well. So we do go through typically every holiday season. So for those of you that do have older Topless Creek wines, we taste through verticals. So it's a nice holiday treat for us, but it's also kind of a nice intro to people that are going to be opening up some older vintages of our wines to get some tasting notes. And kind of see how things are tasting and where they're tasting, because what we've experienced sometimes, especially with Mourvedre, is that it goes through what we call a dumb phase sometimes. So it just kind of gets into this little lull, and it's not.
I go through that a lot. I go through the dumb phase.
Bucket list.
We all do.
Until that first glass of wine, I think.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice to make sure that you do check in with us at Topless, and if we don't have current notes, it's always a great excuse for us to open up one of those bottles. So maybe give us a list of like 5 or 6 vintages that you'd like some notes on. And
that's great. Yeah, and an amazing reference library of grape varieties to taste that maybe you won't even have a chance to taste anywhere else. I've got magnums of Marsanne. Marsanne.
Marsanne.
Yeah.
There's no accent. There's no accent on the last E, I don't think.
No?
Marsanne.
No accent? Marsanne?
Marsanne.
Or maybe is it Roussanne or Marsanne that you guys make a single varietal of?
Both.
Yeah.
Roussanne for sure, but.
Are you talking about Topless?
Topless, yeah.
Yeah, we do both single varietal.
Both.
Yeah.
They do both, but it's
Marsanne is a rad Burgundian appellation.
Oh, thank you. Marsanne, right? Marsanne, is that what I said?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Marsanne.
There's no accent on the last E. There's no accent aigu.
Okay, I'm so sorry. You can correct me. Why don't you say it correctly for me? Oh no, that was a mistake. That was a place in Burgundy. Marsanne is the grape variety. Yeah. So I have magnums of Marsanne, and I have no idea how long they will go, but they are going to sit there until that moment.
Melville.
Yeah, until it's appropriate, and I'm really excited to share those with a group at some point in time. And if I don't know if you are a collector of mags, but I love buying wines in Magnum, and there are many on the auction tonight. And I want to get you guys to think about going in and making a bid on an auction item. I want to thank you for your beautiful presentation. That was great. The wine is always so classy.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so is the gang there. I want to thank you and the entire Topless Creek team for your support and coming on board. You gave our event a wonderful backbone, and we really appreciated you being here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ian.
I hope you enjoy the tasting flight, and we're going to move into Washington now. It is 8:30, so we're going to watch our time. But everyone's being very, very cool, and I hope force majeure. We have Todd again.
I'm here. Oh yeah, hanging in.
All right, cool, man. Thank you so much.
Praise.
We got to taste with Todd earlier today, and super excited to give Todd the floor.
Awesome. Well, thanks for letting me crash your California party. I've got some California.
And it's not. It's really not supposed to be a California party, but we definitely have a lot of.
It's okay because I have a California connection. So I started making wine in Napa Valley. I worked with Tony Biaggi at Plump Jack and Cade Wineries, and then I went to Bryant Family. I was at Bryant Family for about 5 years. I was a winemaker and general manager when I left there in 2014, and I moved north to Washington, not DC. Washington State, in case anyone might be confused. Believe it or not, it happens sometimes when you're talking about Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And generally the Pacific Northwest overall, it's pretty exciting up here. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of untapped potential. There's already a really good foundation of quality, but still some areas and some practices that can be tapped into and improved upon. So that's what brought me up here. This picture you're looking at right now, not the one of me, but like on the left, that's kind of an example of some of the untapped area that's up here. And that's actually on the Oregon side of the Walla Walla Valley. That's an area we call the North Fork. If you go back real quick.
Sorry, buddy. I was just trying to move things around here.
The area known as the North Fork is it's the North Fork of the Walla Walla River, and it's a lot of high elevation property. It's up to 2,200 feet in elevation. Just a really exciting place to be, and we're going to be planting this property on the left here. It's kind of hard to see. It's actually a big canyon. The property starts at about 1,600 feet and goes up to 2,200 feet. So there's a lot of steep slopes and a lot of just variations in soil, in depth and exposure aspect, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really excited about that. But
what's it called?
We call it the North Fork of the Walla Walla River, just North Fork. But I think eventually it might be its own AVA. It's probably about 500 acres in total. We have 100 acres that we own there. Nothing's planted yet. But again, we're actually working with Phil Katuri on that project. He's working with us on that, and I work with him on a couple other projects as well. So I have a few things going on up here, not just Force Majeure, but a few other brands that I work with as well. A lot of things that we're just launching. So pretty exciting time. Anyway, we'll go on to the next slide. So this is the Red Mountain, part of just one little block of Red Mountain Syrah. And the wine that we're pouring, and you can stay on the slide for now, but the wine we're having is called Parvata. So when I came up to Washington in 2014, Force Majeure estate wine program did not exist. So we created it. There's an 18-acre site that is owned by my partner, Force Majeure. And basically it's planted to, Syrah, Mourvèdre, Grenache, some Cinsault, Counoise. And then in the deeper soil deposit areas, there's some Bordeaux varietals. And we actually have Mourvèdre planted in the sandy deposits down at the bottom. So there's like 9 different soil types in this 18 acres, thanks to the Missoula floods that happened about 14,000 years ago. Brought in granite erratics, and additionally to that, we have, besides the Missoula floods, there's just windblown loess, and it's all about volcanic soils here. So fractured basalt, concreted ash, a lot of calcium carbonate. We have soil pHs of about 8.2 in this site. But this Syrah you're looking at is about 1 by 4 meter spacing, and it's on a southwest facing hillside, so it gets lots of sun. And we make a 100% estate Syrah as well. And we're not having that tonight. We're having the Parvata, but we do a couple of wines from the property. You can go on to the next slide.
Sure.
Just another vantage point. You can see the kind of the Goblet training in the lower right photo. How we train most of the Syrah on the property. And again, we're all estate, so we control the farming, organic practices as much as possible. I'm definitely trying to move things in that direction. Washington's generally a little bit behind California in things like night picking, organic farming, stuff like that. Night picking is something that when I came up here, when I was working in Napa, like everybody did it. We did it at Bryant Family. It's a normal thing. And up here I mentioned it and people looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what are you talking about? Like picking at night? And now it's becoming a thing, you know, and it's much better for the fruit. It's better for the crew, frankly. It's better for everybody. And you can have that fruit on the landing at 6 a.m. and you're ready to put it in tank. You don't have any sun to worry about. But I was going to say too, I was really excited to hear, like, this seems like a very Mourvedre dominant presentation. And one of the things I noticed right away up here was that Mourvedre was really, really good. In the fermenters, it's always the last thing I pick. It comes in later than Cabernet, and it'll be like late October, basically the end of October, if we don't get a freeze or something like that. I pick it from Red Mountain, and it's a varietal that just does really, really well up here. It's just beautiful. And in the fermenters, you know, it's like gamey, meaty, a little bit of iron. We get that iron component is that volcanic soil with really good acid, thin skins, it's juicy, grapefruit peel, white pepper. So when we created this, you can go to the next slide. This
Sure.
wine that we're having, the Parvata, normally, this one's 43% Mourvedre. Typically, I'm at about 65 to 70% Mourvedre in this wine. The reason it's lower in this vintage is because we actually did in 2017 a bottling of 100% Mourvedre, and we were, as I was kind of going through the blocks and doing the blending, I tasted this one single block and I was just like, this wine is just insanely good by itself. We were thinking about bottling it alone. Helen Keplinger, a winemaker who used to work with us and who I've known since my Napa days, you know, very good in Rhone varietal winemaking. She tasted it and she was like, this is the best domestic Mourvedre I've ever had. You know, so we bottled that on its own in 17. We bottled it. We're going to bottle it again this year with the 19 vintage. It's a varietal that just does really, really well up here, and I think you're going to start seeing it more and more. It does need a lot of heat to get ripe, and fortunately we have plenty of that. But I actually work with Mourvedre in two different places. I work with it at Red Mountain, and I have another project that's in the Rocks district that are cobblestone soils. Like if you guys know Cayuse Winery, our winery is like we're neighbors with Cayuse basically in the Walla Walla Valley on the Oregon side. So the Mourvedre grown in that area is very different. It's like 13% alcohol, but it's ripe and it's beautiful, but it's very different than this. So it's a really cool contrast of styles within a pretty close area. But for this wine in particular, I do a lot of, I do native yeast. I have a combination of concrete vats. I have, bins. I have stainless steel tanks. I do have temperature control. I've kind of stepped back from having more of like a heavy hand in winemaking, and I'm more about like expression of place, expression of the vintage, and being just very honest about like letting the place and the time show through and not trying to be manipulative in any way. So it's about trying to get it right in the vineyard. It's cliche to say that, but that's really what it is. And then just very straightforward, honest winemaking. And like, this is the site, it's a warmer site. It's not like, I love Andrew and Chad's wines. I've been drinking them for a long time. And, but it's not a Melville wine, it's a warmer place, and that's fine. It's just a different style. It's gonna translate differently. But I do a little bit of whole cluster on the Grenache. Initially, when I was creating this wine, I thought we were going to lead with Grenache, and the Mourvedre was just so good that I thought we've got to feature that, and that's become a thing. And the people that buy our wines just love it. So we're not going to change that. But I've moved in my winemaking from like smaller format oak to large format over the years. Making changes every year, and it's a long process. So I've realized, like, with these wines, less oak impact is good. I use a small percentage of new French oak. I have a little bit of Austrian oak, but most things are once used, twice used, neutral. There's just a little bit of new oak in any of these wines anymore. And yeah, again, native ferments, whole cluster when it's appropriate, and otherwise we do cluster sorting and berry sorting as appropriate and needed. So yeah, if you go to the next slide, you can see a little bit of the soils or some of the characteristics of the volcanic soils. So you have the kind of fractured basalt, the basalt hard pan, and you have concreted ash in the upper right. So you see those white kind of calcareous rocks. That's just ash that's kind of solidified, and you can actually grab those things and snap them, you know. Yeah, it's a really interesting place that makes some great wines. So pretty excited.
Norman wants to know, Todd, what's behind the name
of the winery or of Parvata?
Actually, behind force majeure first.
Force majeure? Yeah, so force majeure means like force of nature, act of God, unstoppable force, etc. We always get a lot of questions from lawyers because it's always in a contract, like a force majeure, like something that's out of your hands, out of your control, you know. But the genesis of that idea is just, you know, the forces of nature that kind of created the soils, and that's where it came from.
Cool. And then and what is the name behind the wine, the Parvata?
Yep. Parvata is a Sanskrit word, and it means mountain, basically. And so we're Red Mountain, we're on a hillside. And I got the bottle here. The label is actually sort of an abstract representation of the hillside vineyard. So you have, you know, the red is for the basalt, you have the green for the vines, blue for the water, brown for the dirt and the sky here. So yeah, Sanskrit, because why not?
Well,
everybody uses Latin or French, so we thought we're going to be different.
I should have prefaced tonight, night one is the Mourvedre show, but it is definitely another fantastic showing of Mourvedre, and with the lens of Washington, really showing, you know, what place does to these different grape varieties, also your personality and your background. You made some really high-end wines in the past, and it's carrying forward into this beautiful rendition here, buddy, and gorgeous wine. I love the packaging too.
Thank you so much, and thanks everybody for listening, and hope you enjoy the wines.
Thank you. I think we've got just a couple more slides. Give us
just sort of a vista of Red Mountain. So it's not red, it's not a mountain. I don't know why it's named Red Mountain. No, I do. It's called, the Red Mountain comes from there's a cheatgrass that grows. It's kind of red in the spring. So it's about a 3,000 acre AVA. It's the warmest in the state. Most of it's just vineyards. There's a few wineries in Red Mountain, but we put our winery in Walla Walla. So the first few years I was up here, we made the wine near Seattle, actually, and in just a warehouse space. And then we built the winery, finished that in 2019. Actually, it's still kind of undergoing finishing touches, but that's a good shot of some of the Syrah, and then coming down the sub-hill. We have some Viognier down there, and then there's some Merlot, and then down at the very bottom, which I don't have pictures of, I should have provided them to you, but our Mourvedre is head trained, and it's gorgeous. But you can see some of these big boulders and some of the calcium deposits that are on them, and some of the ash deposits that are on them as well. So it's a really, like, there's some big rocks out there. We have granite, we have quartz. It's a pretty cool, interesting geological area. That's a tendril. And those are some tanks. We don't have those anymore, but we do have concrete. I use a lot of concrete. So anyway, thanks. Don't want to take up too much time.
I really appreciate your presentation, thoroughness, and again, a beautiful exposure for us here in California to be able to see stuff from Washington. I think it's starting to really, penetrate into the California wine community, and
we're working on it.
Yeah. So continue that, and we'll continue to support here as well. Thank you very much, man.
Thanks.
I look forward to tasting more of your wines. So we're going to move into Law Estate, and I had this really magical connection with Law Estate when Law got started. You know, my business was learnaboutwine.com, and we had law school, and we hung out with the guys at Law Estate, and when they first got started, and I got to tour the property. It's a magic spot. So tonight, Phil Thunder from Down Under, is it?
Yeah, well, that's what the Zoom link says. I spent 8 years living and making wine in New Zealand, so hence the Thunder from Down Under, I guess.
That's perfect, man. You gotta flaunt it. That's fantastic.
There you go. Yeah, for some reason my name lends itself to nicknames. I've got many. Some more pleasant than others.
Well, good to have personality. That helps.
Right. Yeah, well, there tends to be personalities in the wine industry, and first of all, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to be here, and being last in line is nice because I've got the chance to kind of enjoy everybody's wine so far. I have to say all the wines so far have been absolutely beautiful. I love that seemingly somehow inadvertently we've kind of done a very Mauvet centric kind of tasting today, and I'm not going to depart too far from that. So here's the property as a picture. So that's Law Estate, the tasting room on the left, and then the winery on the right. And behind you, the hillside that you see there is all our plantings and vineyards. So we're somewhere between 1,400 and 1,900 foot elevation. We have lots of different aspects, different angles. The soils are calcareous limestone, almost pure. It's pretty crazy. There's lots of active lime. You can actually squeeze a lemon out over some of these rocks and they'll fizz. It's a pretty magical place. As Chelsea had mentioned, the pH of our soils are very high. What that allows us to do is retain a lot of freshness and tension in the wines. So the vines kind of struggle to uptake certain nutrients that would also help in the respiration of acid. So not only the extreme diurnal shifts, but then also the actual structure of the soils themselves allow us to retain a lot of freshness and tension in the wines that are also very opulent and powerful. So the wine that we're sharing with you guys tonight is the 17 Sagacious. It's 38% Mauvet, so also Mauvet dominant, 33% Grenache, and then 29% Syrah. It's always roughly equal thirds of Grenache, Mauvet, and Syrah. Sometimes it's a GSM, sometimes it's an MSG. Very rarely dominated by Syrah. I actually don't think that's ever happened. But I tend to personally like the wine the most when Mauvet is at the forefront. I think Mauvet for us has these really beautiful kind of rustic, earthy characteristics. It always reminds me of autumn leaves in some way. I grew up in Germany and I just kind of imagine Dad spending hours raking together leaves and me jumping into it, and that smell somehow reminds me of Mauvet. You might think that's completely crazy, but that's the beautiful thing about wine, right? It can take you back to places, it can remind you of things, and everybody's opinion, everybody's kind of sense is valid to themselves. So so that's the wine that we're sharing with you guys today. Tell you a little bit more about the property. We are on the western hills of Paso Robles, not quite as deep as Topless, but pretty high elevation. And I think what makes the area so interesting and so beautiful is not only the soils, but the ability for us to be able to ripen so many different varieties. So we're planted to almost 30% Grenache, 30% Syrah. We have both the Spanish and French clones of Mauvet, but then we also have a touch of Tempranillo and Cabernet and Petit Verdot, and everything just kind of works and has its place. So we're definitely focused mainly on Rhone varietals, but we also make a wine like Audacious, for example, that is loosely inspired by Priorat, with Grenache, Carignan, Cabernet, and a touch of Syrah. So it's really fun to get to wear so many different hats and make so many different wines that are inspired by different places in the world. The terroir itself is quite special. As you guys can see here, lots of different aspects, very steep hillsides. The property, so the grape cluster that you see there, that looks a lot like Grenache to me, not a French clone. It's pretty tight, so I'm assuming that's a Spanish clone, maybe clone 52 of Grenache. And we have a lot of different clones from all the varieties. So it makes it for a lot of fun, and a lot of fun, especially when it comes time for blending, because we have a lot of different spices in our spice rack, so to say, or so to speak. The property itself is about just shy of 400 acres, of which 80 is planted, 79 and a bit. It's all organically farmed. We've just been, it's a young project. You know, the first vineyards went into the ground in 2007. So we've just been organically certified. I work very closely with our vineyard manager, who Chelsea knows quite well as well. We stole him from Topless. So Levi is our vineyard manager. And we've got a very close relationship. I think, you know, if you're gonna be a good or successful winemaker, you really do have to spend most of your time in the vineyards. I was really excited to hear that every winemaker on here today was talking about wine growing. And I certainly agree with that completely. I think all the hard work is done in the vineyards. You have to put in the time there. And for me, my personal philosophy in winemaking is, though I certainly use a bit more new oak than some of you, I think it matches the opulence and the power to the site quite well. But for me, what is in the glass should be an expression of a sense of time and place, right? So 2017 and this beautiful place. So I don't utilize any winemaking products, so to speak. It's all wild fermentations.
Bet on time. That feels like a long time ago.
What was that?
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard something. Somebody made a comment, but
sorry about that.
All right, here we go. Does that work?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So, yeah, the winemaking is. It's all native yeast, wild fermentations. The only real control that I have is a little bit of temperature control. We do utilize also concrete fermenters, just like Todd. I really do enjoy concrete fermenters. They're nice and neutral, but there is a little bit of porosity there. And then also stainless steel. All the wines are aged for about 19 to 22 months in French oak. And depending on the blend, that would be, you know, anywhere between 30 and 75% new oak. For the wine that we are tasting tonight, Sagacious, that is always the wine with the least amount of new oak. So this wine is about 40% new oak, which is quite a lot for that vintage, and a little bit of whole cluster as well. So always about 30 to 35% whole cluster. And we do ferment Grenache, Mojave, and Syrah on whole cluster. Some 100% whole cluster ferments, some 30%, 20% whole cluster ferments. It really depends on what Mother Nature gives us and what those stems taste like. At the end of the day, I chomp them up, and if they're green and asparagus and not very pleasant, then I probably wouldn't use them. But if you've got these nice woody tannins and these almost brown characteristics, then it's certainly a beautiful component in a fermentation and the resulting wines. So I think you can skip to the next slide.
Sure, buddy.
So there's an actual map of the vineyards. As you can see, lots of different aspects, quite hilly, quite spread out. So we are planted there, as you can see, to 9 different red grape varieties, but the majority is Grenache, Syrah, and Mauves. We do also have a white wine, so that is Roussanne, Marsanne, and Claret Blanche. The Claret Blanche we also stole from Topless. And it's absolutely delicious. It's kind of the acid piece to the wine. It tends to come in at a lower pH for us for some reason, because it's not typically known for being a low pH variety. But really beautiful wines. And there you can kind of see the layout of the property itself. I think you can skip over to the next one. That's the winery again. But very well worth mentioning is the fact that it's all gravity fed. So you can see up there on the right, the crush pad there, exactly. And we do all the processing of the fruit up there. Like everyone else, we're picking in the middle of the night. We usually start between 2 and 3 a.m., depending on how big of a day we've got planned. And what that means is the fruit comes to us really nice and cold. So we can park all the fruit that we've harvested underneath the crush pad there, that roof is designed so that the shade line never really crosses into the fruit zone. And even if it takes us until 3 in the afternoon to process that last bin, we pick into half-ton, picking bins, and there's a critical mass there. Even if it's a 110-degree day, you stick your hand into those grapes, and 4 inches down, it's ice cold. So it's really nice to be able to process the fruit when it's nice and cold. It goes into either 4-ton concrete fermenters or 2-ton stainless steel fermenters from there, all open top. And fermentation kicks off when it wants to. So when we start letting things warm up a little bit, that's when the fermentation starts. So David asked, when did I start at law? I started at law in 2016. So that was the end of my vagabond life, I guess. I had spent a long time traveling around the world. So a little bit of my background, I did my master's in enology and viticulture in New Zealand. I worked at a lot of different wineries there. I was at Kumeu River for 3 years, Pyramid Valley, Dry River, all over New Zealand. But during my time there, I also spent time on the Northern Hemisphere. So I would do 2 vintages a year. I was at Chateau Angelus for 3 years in Saint-Emilion. And then in Napa, I was at Screaming Eagle and at Haydn de Villaine. So kind of traveled all over the place for a while. And when I found Paso in a happy accident, I kind of knew that this was a place that I wanted to be. I thought it was quite special. The town itself is really cool. And I really like the wines. I like that balance of power and opulence and kind of tension and freshness that we somehow managed to achieve, both due to our diurnal shifts as well as the structures of the soils themselves. So yeah, it's really exciting kind of time in Paso to be making wines, and hopefully you guys enjoy this one. So I think let's see if there's any more slides.
Yeah, you got this beautiful winery.
There we go. So that's the winery.
From the outside, it's gorgeous, but also on the inside, this is like one of the this might be a rumor, but I think you guys patented the winery design, right? Didn't you guys do something?
So the
like
winery was designed by Bar Architects in San Francisco. So it's a really beautiful design. But so here's the same thing. As a winemaker, I've worked at a lot of really beautiful wineries and beautiful properties. But a beautiful winery doesn't always mean that it's functional from a winemaking perspective.
Right.
But Law Estate really makes my job very easy as a winemaker because everything flows very easily. But it's beautiful at the same time. So you can see in the right picture there, that stainless steel sup, that's how we dump our fruit with, a hydraulic basically straight over the top via gravity into those tanks and into the fermenters. So there's never any pumping or churning. There's no augers, none of that. And then from there, once fermentation is done, next level down is the resting barrel room and the working barrel room. We allow all of the wines to undergo natural malolactic fermentation in barrel. We do have a little trick up our sleeves. We have radiant floor heating in the working barrel room, which helps us keep the temperatures. Chelsea's over there shaking her head, going like, "That's just," but it's nice. So I can keep that room at a toasty 65 to 70 degrees, which promotes that malolactic fermentation. Once everything's through, it gets put away into the resting barrel room, which you can see there. Early days, so that is probably a picture taken from vintage 2013-14. At the moment, those single high barrels are 3 stacks high. So production has grown considerably since then. And there's our tasting room. So we are by appointment only. We are open. We are being as safe as possible, and keeping everybody socially distant in these in the times that we find ourselves in at the moment. But I would urge anybody from down south, if you guys wanted to take a little break and check out some areas, stop with the guys up in Santa Barbara and then check us out. We're not too much further up north, and it's a beautiful drive and it's a beautiful place. So and Jason asked if it's all estate wines, and yes, it is. So it is all estate fruit, all estate wines, organically farmed. It's, I think everybody here, all the winemakers have mentioned, that's truly the biggest control that you have if you get to farm your own fruit and you get to farm your own vineyards. I think a winemaker is only as good as how well he knows his vineyards. And I actually lived on the property for the first 2.5 years, so I know those vineyards very intimately. I walk my dogs and my young son through those vineyards all the time, and it's a great place and a great project. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the wines. Cheers.
Spectacular presentation, great wine, beautiful wine. And just curious, how many of you have been up to Law Estate? Yeah, we got to get more of you up there. So now, if I can help you, or you can get to Philip. We all want you to get up into Paso, up into Santa Barbara. Go and see these folks, support these folks. Remind them that you were here tonight. But this is the Law Estate is just tremendous. It's like the French Laundry of wineries. Every tool in the shed was thought of, right, Chelsea?
I have cellar envy.
Well, that's the beauty is, if you have a cellar that's set up like this, it frees up my time tremendously. I don't have to worry about making room and tanks and getting stuff moved from here to there and things like that. I can really, I get to walk through and taste every single wine every single day and take my time with it and see where we want to kind of progress from there. So it makes my job a lot easier and a lot more stress-free, for sure.
That's cool.
Chelsea's got the fireplace though.
Yeah, the fireplace is nuts. That is true.
And the ambient heating at home, but not
That's right. Yeah. Well, when you put those tools to work, though, this is a beautiful resulting wine, man. It is showing gorgeous. And there were a couple questions about it. First, was it alcohol? We're at 15.4 on this wine.
15.4, yeah. So our alcohols are always right around there, even though I've been working pretty hard to kind of lower that a little bit. And I think you'll notice that especially from 2019 on, the alcohols are a little bit lower than they might have been in the past, but yeah.
Well, just beautiful stuff. And to all of you that were speaking tonight and showing off your wines, thank you so much. It was so great to watch many of you guys have a good time. Some of you look like you're having a little bit better time than others, but that was really fun to watch. And being able to pull people in from different parts of the state, and to be able to watch your smiling faces and see you either enjoying by yourself or with friends. It's just really great. I want to encourage you to get your friends involved in what we're doing. And then Greg, let's check in on our auction. If you haven't had a chance to, and maybe many of you haven't, just take a look, because there's some really great values. You're going to buy some wine, you might as well donate some money to charity. It's 100% to the charity, and the wines are delivered either with a wine order from us or from the wineries. But I think most of them come now directly from the wineries, really trying to line that up. And,
yeah, we found that to be the best thing. Instead of shipping it to you, to ship it to the winner, why don't we just send it directly to the people that purchase it?
Yeah.
So yes, we're off to a great start. Thank you for everybody that's bid. We'll be back here Friday night for some more bidding. Again, if you are at work, wherever, on your phone, give it a look, see if you got outbid, and we're going to close this out on Sunday night at 9 p.m.
Cool. And particular thanks to Lisa and to Norma, who are leading the board with the most items bid on.
Yes, don't let them take all the wine.
It has worked out that way, where a couple of people are winning most of it. And
yes, especially since all this stuff starts 50% off retail. So
yeah, and it's not because things are going for outrageous prices or anything. really pressed to pay more than actual retail on any of these items. So get in early, take a look, see if any of it makes sense for you. You know, maybe a magnum of Mourvedre blend is too much for your COVID home, but maybe it's a good time to start thinking about the future. Got some gifts to give. These are great gifts. And a big bottle is a wonderful present for any male or female. All fits all sizes. You don't have to worry about it.
And we also have 25 items up there that are not wine related. You know, a Zoom chess lesson, a take a dance lesson from a NBA cheerleader, a comedy show on Zoom for 10 of your friends. So there's a lot of great stuff. Check it out.
That's awesome, Greg. Thank you. Well, I would love to in closing, thank again all of the vintners and all of the amazing wines that we're showing tonight. We've got an awesome show on Friday and Saturday. Friday is literally within 1 or 2 tasting kits away from being completely sold out. Saturday has a few more spots available. So if you want to come back and join us, we can still, we don't even pour the wines for Friday or Saturday until tomorrow. And then we ship them out to those of you that are far away. We deliver them day of with courier on Friday. And you'll have both Friday and Saturday delivered on Friday, or you'll have Saturday delivered on Saturday. That's how we do it. And it's quite a bit of work. Those of you that would like to do this at home, I welcome you to try it. We have quite a team of Alicia is on the Zoom with us tonight, and she and our Oompa Loompa staff get together. We bust out, polish up, wash up about I don't know how many jars is that. We're gonna have like 780 jars for Friday and Saturday. To polish up, pour, package, label. So a couple of the details got a little frayed on this particular event, but it came pretty fast and hard as we were pretty damn busy with some really exciting stuff that we're working on. Just so I can show you some progress each time on what we are doing, continuing to kind of think about our future and what we're doing next. I just want to show you guys the new learnaboutwine.com is now up and functional. It's not this is not our battle station yet, but it's someday. We've got so many ideas coming together. We've got our classes, we've got our calendar up, we've got a really basic calendar at this point, but this is going to get really rich in a hurry. All the STARS events that we're going to be doing over the next year are going to be posted right here. And the next one that we're going to have is Stars of Napa, and that is going to feature 28 wineries and 4 events over 2 weeks. So really trying to make just an amazing statement there. And so this is the new Learn About Wine, and it'll continue to take some exciting shape. It is built as a Shopify experience, so super easy to get in and get out. But I really hope you guys will enjoy it and visit and maybe take a wine class or another experience with us. But it'll continue to morph and take shape, I promise you. And let's see. The Zoom into Wine stuff that we have coming is really fun too, and that's still on the Merchant of Wine. And that's where we have so many people coming together and doing just really fun social tastings. If you haven't seen Zoom into Wine lately, we're now published all the way through and into April. April's still being, the finishing touches are still coming to April, but some always moving the needle, always inventing, do new things and pulling different brands together. We've got a kosher wine class, a tasting with Matt D's coming up, our Napa Valley tasting, a port adventure, deep dive on the grape Menthia, We're doing a really fun trip to Paso. Some unique brands, including another visit to La Estate with Thatcher and Hammer Sky. So, or Thacker and Hammer Sky. And then Chianti Classico of all places. We're going to be hanging out with Bindi Serengati. Really, really cool 700-year-old brand. But coming up this weekend, coming up March 6th, my friend Vince Ferragamo, LA Rams legend, quarterback. He's going to taste Brunello di Montalcino with me, blind, and we're going to have a lot of fun with these four Brunello-based or Montalcino-based wines, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And so come and join us and get your tasting kit, and look for more adventures in the future. But I do hope you guys enjoyed, and there's a lot of action on the chat. Anyone want to say anything or say hi to anybody? Todd, Michael, Jeffrey, David and Maria, Julie, Lisa, everybody, thank you so much. Those of you I didn't get to say hi to, Tanya, Harry, thank you so much for joining us. John Talbert, wonderful to see you again. You were one of our original Learn About Winers back in the day. David Cam, thank you so much, buddy. Clarissa, thank you. Pleasure to see you. Danielle, thank you. Wonderful to meet you. Look forward to seeing you up in Sonoma. I make wine up there too, so we'll have to.
Awesome. Come visit anytime. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, fantastic. Emily, thank you. Really wonderful to have you on the Zoom again. And with that, I think I'll leave it up to anyone else that wants to say anything, but these Zooms are always available for you to go back and visit on our Facebook page, which is going to be called Zoom Into Wine eventually when Facebook lets us change the name. Right now it's our Wine LA page. Wine LA goes to bed for a little while. We'll lay that down, and we'll bring Wine LA back when the markets open up and we get a tasting room somewhere in Los Angeles. We'll do some tasting activities, our classes there and stuff like that. That's kind of our future dream. But for right now, we're kind of repositioning the names. We'll be Zoom Into Wine, Learn About Wine, and Merchant of Wine for the foreseeable future. Julie, all your wines show up okay? I packaged yours pretty crazy. But thank you. Thank you for the support.
I do have to tell you about something though with the packaging, so.
Uh-oh, Bubba.
That's for another day.
All right. All right.
All good though.
Yeah? Okay, good. All right. Well, this has definitely been an adventure for us, and we thank you very much for your support, guys. And any reference, any ideas, please let us know. We'll get all your wine kits poured tomorrow and delivered, and we'll have the right numbers on the tasting mats by Friday. Jennifer Freebarn, thank you so much for your support.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. You've always created such a great forum for us to connect with each other and with other great people. So now more than ever, we need that. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It really is. I enjoy it. And being able to see some smiling faces, drinking some great wine, and keeping the community alive. It's what we're all about. So with that, have a great week, everybody. We look forward to seeing you soon. Until we see you again, good night.
Cheers.
Thanks so much, Ian.
Cheers.